R-Truth, Carlito, Valhalla, Sarah and Logan, they were all released from their contract recently. Big news. Well, not released, they're just not being renewed. The problem with that is that they did not tie up loose ends. Now, it sucks on a human level. R-Truth is a company dude, beloved by everyone. Universally, every wrestler had a negative reaction to him being released. And then there's the business side of things. Well, we're calling up all these people from NXT. We gotta make room. We gotta do budget cuts. We gotta pay for everybody and blah, 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 blah. Let's not talk business. Let's not talk personal. Let's talk pure storyline here. And before we talk WWE stories, we gotta talk Wrestlechop business. I'm trying to quit my day job and produce wrestling content full time, so I'm gonna give away a belt every 10,000 subscribers, and I'm almost at 20,000, so this belt is about to be given away to somebody, and it could be you. All you gotta do to win, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, ding ding ding, notification, and if you wouldn't mind, give me a thumbs up. Please give him a thumbs up, just one thumbs up. I would appreciate it, the thumb would appreciate it, and then yes, let's talk WWE storylines. It's so important because WWE, very much so, has been telling us very recently, over and over and over and over again, how this is all a work. It's all a story. Even Rock, the Dwayne Johnson, the board member, he told Dave LaGreca, hey man, calm down, it's all a work. Dave LaGreca didn't calm down, and I'm not going to calm down either. You know what? I don't need to be reminded that it's a work. I got a bunch of jocks out there who will tell me that my sports is fake, when in reality, their sports are fake. But that said, you guys in the higher-ups, Triple H, The Rocks, Nick Khans, all of you are just going to tell me how much that this is all just a story. Well, then you got to treat it like a story. Could you imagine if Breaking Bad Season 3, suddenly Jesse Pinkman was no longer there? He's a big character in Season 1, Season 2, and then gone. You never see him again. Could you imagine if Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, there's Aunt May, and then Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man's just living on his own. Peter Parker never even talks about Aunt May again. That wouldn't make sense. Heck, even Poochie from Itchy and Scratchy got a send-off.
You look like you've got something to say.
My planet needs me.
Because they needed to tie up that loose end, because you can't just make a character disappear. Carlito has been crucial to the Judgment Day. He is in every backstage segment, and the Judgment Day, they're a family unit. They're a bad guy family unit, but a family unit nonetheless. And for Carlito not to be backstage playing PlayStation 5 or hitting on Raquel Rodriguez or failing to interfere on behalf of Finn Balor, and Finn Balor then thus taking the pin, doesn't make sense. He's a character that just disappeared, and why wouldn't anybody say anything? For him to have no write-off is bad for the story that you're telling. Now, I feel it's disrespectful to Carlito and R-Truth for them not to be written off, to not be given a retirement match or some kind of send-off. That said, it's storyline-wise, it doesn't make sense. Heck, remember when Ricochet left for AEW? They wrote him off. They used his last appearance.
They've stretchered him and they're going to take him to a hospital.
Goodbye. For all we know, he's dead, right? In the world of WWE, Ricochet might be dead. But that said, it wrote him off. We had to write him off because what about Samantha Irvin? Samantha Irvin was a ring announcer then. She had a personal connection with Ricochet, and whether we wanted Ricochet to leave for business purposes or personal reasons, don't matter. Storyline-wise, they did right by Ricochet by writing him off. But what about Carlito? What about R-Truth? What about Karrion Kross and The Miz? Those two, actually, their time is almost up. They are up for renewal, and I'm afraid they're not going to be renewed. You might think, oh, well, they got to renew The Miz. we would have thought they got to renew R-Truth. Oh, no, but The Miz is different. He's a two-time Grand Slam champion. Miz and Mrs. Reality TV. He's the greatest guy. He's in a storyline with Mello. Yeah, well, R-Truth was in a storyline with John Cena, and then he was in a storyline with the family, the new blood Bloodline, whoever they are, whatever they are now, Solo Sikoa's group. And it's like, no. You know why they probably released R-Truth? Because when a corporation takes over a company, a family-owned business, they usually wait 1 to 2 years before their horns really show. And TKO, they don't care about R-Truth. They don't care how funny he is. They don't know the dude. They really don't know the dude. They don't care about Miz. And these are two guys who were very, very long tenured people. R-Truth was 17 years. The Miz currently, right now, is the third longest tenured WWE wrestler, only behind John Cena and Randy Orton. And it's like, he probably makes a lot of money, and TKO's gonna be like, this dude's not in the main event, let's get rid of him. And Karrion Kross, we need to do a sole video on Karrion Kross, on how awesome he is, how he's getting himself over, how he pays for his own social media stuff, how he doesn't wait around on his thumbs in order for WWE Creative to come up with something, how even though he gets about 2 minutes of airtime, he still is cheered, how he became the #1 selling t-shirt on WWE.com and got sold in the arenas, how he went viral on WrestleMania weekend, how he promoted the AJ Styles match versus Logan Paul more than both of them did. It was like insane. It is insane that, well, Karrion Kross might get cut now too. And I don't want them to repeat the same mistake they did with R-Truth, Carlito, and even Valhalla, Sarah Logan. And so if we're going to release them, then we got to write them off TV. So instead of just complaining, I'm going to come up with how we should have released those three and how we should release those two. We're going under the assumption that everybody is being released, that they are not going to be part of WWE anymore. And while, yes, I hate it, I want to pay respects to the characters that these 5 individuals have put their life force into. So what could we have done with R-Truth? R-Truth is actually the easiest one. Now, again, hear me out. In no way, shape, or form would I have wished R-Truth to have been not renewed. None of these people I really wanted to lose their jobs. I don't want anyone to lose their jobs, to be honest with you. But that said, how could we have gotten rid of R-Truth? And in storyline-wise, easy. He was fighting John Cena. John Cena wants to ruin wrestling. Instead of it being a non-title match, which, by the way, John Cena won, so it didn't have to be a non-title match. It could have been just a regular title match, but it wasn't. So instead of it being a non-title match, have R-Truth challenge for the title, saying, I know I can beat you. John Cena could have laughed at him, saying, when was the last time you even won a match? R-Truth says, tell you what, John Cena, because you are my childhood hero and I need to win you back to the forces of good, I will put my career on the line for your title, because if I can take that title away from you, I think you'll wake up. And John Cena's like, fine, you put your career on the line and I'll put my title on the line. They have their match. John Cena wins, and he walks away, and boom, we have R-Truth having a huge send-off. The crowd could cheer him. We could have that moment. Ric Flair got his moment. Shawn Michaels got his moment. Triple H was allowed to take off his boots in the ring. It's like they're going to give Goldberg, stupid freaking Goldberg, is going to have a retirement match this year, and we couldn't give R-Truth a retirement match? I mean, what has Goldberg really done other than beat up a bunch of lockers with his head and give out concussions? If this is my impression of Goldberg, you get a concussion, everybody gets a concussion. So if we could give Goldberg his flowers, his moment in the sun, we could have definitely given it to R-Truth, and that would have been so crazy, emotional, awesome, had R-Truth lost, picked himself up, and then had the cheers and applause. We could have even done the thing that on the next SmackDown, we gave R-Truth a send-off there as well, and that would have just been beautiful. SmackDown was too long anyways. We could have devoted 10 to 20 minutes to just R-Truth and everybody just applauding him and being surrounded by his friends, and then he gets to say goodbye. Yes, we would have still hated the fact that we were losing R-Truth, but it would have softened the blow. We would have got closure. It would have tied a bow tie on the storyline that is R-Truth. So now, what about Carlito? Carlito's backstage, right? He's backstage all the time. What could we have done with them? Well, they are a heel faction. What if Carlito, his failure to help Finn Balor, well, that made Finn Balor snap, and Finn Balor beat the crap out of him so much, he was sent to the hospital, and then he never returned. He sent a letter saying, you know what, I felt wrong that nobody came to my aid, because maybe Dominic and JD didn't really know what to do, but Finn Balor beat the crap out of them, and now we get some boos, we get some heat, and then Carlito can just go off to Puerto Rico, where he is now a champion in his father's promotion in real life. And so good for Carlito for doing other things already, but still, yeah, we could have got some heat on Finn Balor, or we could have done something silly. You don't want that kind of heat on Finn? We could have done it silly. So Carlito tries to help Finn again, he fails. And so then Finn Balor tricks Carlito to go to visit his dad, right? He tricks him to go visit his dad somehow, like, hey, we got a match up in Puerto Rico. We film it where Carlito is actually, hey, what's going on, when he touched down, and then his dad is there. His dad is there and says, son, I can't believe I've been looking for you for years. Ever since he was in WWE, that's how long his dad has been looking for him. And Finn Balor sent him to his dad, and so his dad grabs him by the ear and just drags him off. And his dad says, you will never return to the United States. And boom, done. Carlito is now written off, and we have two ways of done it. One way would make Finn Balor into a vicious heel, and another way would just make Finn Balor into that scheming, conniving, bitter person that just doesn't like to see anybody happy. And he could be laughing about it, but everybody's like, why did Carlito even go to Puerto Rico? And Finn can just be like, I don't know. He said he wanted to visit his dad, and now, well, I guess we need to find new people. Hey, look, Roxanne Perez. Boom, done. Carlito's written off, and we have a finale for that portion of Judgment Day. Valhalla. Let's do Valhalla now. Valhalla, if you don't know, is Sarah Logan, and she is married to one of the Viking Raiders. I'm sorry, I know it's not, I know it's Ivar and Eric now, but I still don't know much about them. Honestly, I just don't care about the Viking Raiders. However, maybe with this angle of getting Sarah Logan, Valhalla off TV forever, then we could care about them. What if the New Day, they hired Lash Legend to beat up Sarah Logan? Why not? Why not? They know they can't do it, so they hire Lash Legend to do it, and then she has to go off onto an ambulance. But the key here is that New Day and the War Raiders, well, now their feud is very personal because they hire someone to beat up the dude's wife. And Lash Legend, she gets a rub. Sarah Logan, she gets one last airtime on TV, and she's written off. And now we have an actual rivalry, actual heat between these two, because they've been feuding forever, and it's boring and it's lame. So maybe something personal on the War Raiders end would heat it up a little. Or I got another one for Sarah Logan. She actually used to be in a faction, the Riot Squad, with Liv Morgan. Ruby Riot was as well. Ruby Riot went to AEW, but now she's on a sabbatical. I think she had a kid, but that still means Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan employed on WWE. And what if Liv Morgan came back from the movies? She saw Roxanne Perez kind of hooking up with Dom, and she was like, I kind of lost my edge. I need to get my edge back. So she's like, I'm going to look into my past. And then she calls out Valhalla, Sarah Logan, and it's like, hey, we came up together, and I need to get my edge back. And I figured I'd call on an old friend to do it. And Sarah Logan's like, oh, I really appreciate that. And then Liv Morgan proceeds to beat the crap out of her. And she beats the crap out of her past to ignite her present and make her into a beast in the future. And so again, we beat up Sarah Logan, put her in an ambulance, and now she's written off TV. Boom, there's a bow tied there. And then the War Raiders, who knows, maybe they want to feud with Judgment Day because of Liv Morgan, and now they are no longer tied to the New Day, and the New Day can go on to bigger, better things. All right, so now we go to The Miz. The Miz, how would we write The Miz off? For the record, I do not want The Miz to be released. That said, I think the writing's on the wall. They're gonna release him. He has already taken down all of his mentions of WWE on his social media, his Twitter. So yeah, and I don't want them to repeat the same mistake they did with the other three. So what could we do? How could we do it? Now, quite honestly, I wouldn't mind another retirement match. I straight up wouldn't mind another retirement match between him and Mello. Mentor versus mentee. Us WWE fans, we're not that complicated. If you just give us a reason, we wouldn't even care if you just reuse the same storyline. Oh my gosh, you just had a retirement match with R-Truth and now you're doing it again a couple months later. At least there'd be closure. However, I think we could do a little better in this situation. So R-Truth, he got the retirement match. This scenario, we're going to have The Miz and Mello actually start just really butting heads. It completely disintegrates in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and they start a feud, a program where Miz is like, fine, I was going to show you everything. I was going to give you all of my knowledge, Mello, and you messed up. You're going to miss out. And Mello's like, I didn't need it. I didn't need you to become the NXT champion. I didn't need you to help me win Dre. So, like, for real, Miz, thanks, but no thanks. Mello, I'm him. And they just go at it, right? And finally, they get a match, right? They get a match, and Miz is going to show Mello, and boom, Mello pins him. He embarrasses him, and Miz is like, oh. So they have another match. Miz is like, no, I'm not done with you. I'm not done with you. And Mello's like, come on, man. I don't want to keep embarrassing you. And then, guess what? Mello pins him again. And it's like, oh my gosh. And so then, Miz is just hyper focused on Mello, and he's like, I gotta beat this guy. I'm gonna destroy this guy. They have another match, and guess what? Mello wins again. This is going to be very reminiscent of when John Cena and Batista actually wrestled, when Batista was on his way out the first time. Batista just kept losing and getting more and more frustrated until when he finally had his final match with John Cena, he comes out and he's just like, I quit. He throws a temper tantrum and he literally just quits. Now, and then we're going to do that with The Miz. The Miz, we think that it's going to be like kind of like at least a rubber match, 2 out of 3, whoever takes it. You know, we're not going to fully say that this is going to have a retirement match. It's just The Miz constantly losing to Mello, and Miz not allowing him to think, oh, well, maybe Mello is that good. No, he just consistently blames Mello, because maybe Mello cheated one time, or maybe he rolled him up, or whatever the case may be. The Miz just gets more and more frustrated with how Mello keeps beating him, and he thinks that this entitled person is just everything wrong with the next generation of wrestlers, and he finally just says, you know what? I'm done with it. I don't care. I haven't been treated right, and he just goes off on the audience, only the way The Miz can, and it's like the audience will get one final promo of The Miz just airing all of his grievances, and it's like going to be therapeutic for The Miz, and we're going to love it and hate it at the same time. And finally, The Miz is just like, you know what? I'm bigger than all this. I didn't need to beat Mello. In fact, I let him beat me so I could make him a star, because I was going to leave this company anyway, because I am bigger than wrestling. And he throws down the mic and he walks away. And we all know it's like, no, he could never beat Mello, but he got so frustrated by it. And the fans were making fun of him so much because he couldn't beat the rookie and all these things. And so he throws a temper tantrum and walks out the door, just like Batista did. And I think that would be good. I think it would be good. It'd be different than just a retirement match. I'll settle for a retirement match. And I don't want you guys to be like, oh, well, I thought you liked The Miz. That would bury The Miz. Who cares? If the guy's on his way out, you can actually kind of bury the person. And again, The Miz, he can turn a burial into, I don't know, a celebration. All right? If funerals are supposed to be a celebration of life, and that's what this would be. One final program with The Miz and one final scorched earth promo at the end where he just says, screw it. Screw all of you. I'm out. And that's what we have. The Miz, he's out that way. So now we go to Carrie and Cross. Kross. So we're not going to get a renewal of Karrion Kross. The one storyline he's in right now is Sami Zayn. It's kind of a retirement match here too. Sami says, I've been watching you. You know, you've been talking to me, trying to get me to turn. Well, I went back and I started looking at everybody you fought over the last 4 years. And then we could do kind of like a history of Karrion Kross, because a lot of people that Karrion Kross came into contact with, they turned heel afterwards, from Drew McIntyre to Shinsuke Nakamura. I think he feuded with Rey Mysterio, and was Dominic, had Dominic already turned yet? I'm not 100% sure there, but every time he kind of came into contact with something, it unraveled. That person unraveled somehow, and maybe Sami's like, I'm not going to let that happen anymore. These are my friends. And so, like, what happened to Big E, that's on you, because you made Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, you planted that seed in their head, and I hate that. I hate that. So Karrion Kross, I'll tell you what, if you win, I'll side with you. I'll do whatever you want. You can be my manager. You can be the devil on my shoulder. But if I win, I just want you gone. I just want you gone. And Karrion Kross, he loses and he has to go. He has to go. And, you know, who knows? Karrion Kross, he's still young, so maybe he could be rehired again, but he can say something like, all right, I'm gone for now. But like any scary movie, the villain always comes back. And that's the last we see of him. Poof, done. That's it. Let's not make the same mistake that we did with R-Truth, Carlito, and even Valhalla. Because here's the beauty of this. What I just did here, it tackles all three. The business, the personal, and the story. Business-wise, if they're not fired yet, and they still have time on their contract, why not use them all the way up to the end? Why not? You're just wasting money then. So you can use Carlito for his last 2 weeks and do this storyline. You can use R-Truth for the month left, or well, actually, in my scenario, we would have used it. We would have just done it at Saturday's main event. But again, he was still under contract. But this also tackles the personal point of this, in that you don't think Carlito wants one more moment on TV to say goodbye to WWE Universe? You don't think R-Truth would love a retirement angle where he gets to say goodbye? And then it handles the story element, in which, well, there's no loose ends, there's no plot holes. Where's Carlito? Where's the PlayStation 5? It just doesn't make sense that he's not there and nobody's talking about him. He was such a large part of the family that nobody's talking about him. It doesn't make sense. If The Miz were to suddenly just disappear after being Melo's mentor, it won't make sense. Yeah, we'll get over it. Yeah, we'll move on with our lives, but it's still, like, storyline-wise, it doesn't make sense. It would be Jesse Pinkman not in season 3 of Breaking Bad. Doesn't make sense, and that's just... We're not asking for a lot, Triple H. We're not. You know, I want R-Truth to be back in WWE. I want you to reassign him. But, like, if you're not gonna, can you just give him the respect that he's due? Give him the retirement match? Is that asking too much? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Boys, girls, I know this video might be a little all over the place, but when I'm talking about these guys and gal, it does fire me up a little. I just don't understand. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand the business, but can't we be cool to the person and the story? I mean, you tell us how it's all work anyway, so let's make it work. All right, boys, girls, thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. That helps the engagement, helps promote the video. It shows the YouTube algorithm that people like this content, and I appreciate every single one of you. Please, in the comments below, let me know if you have a better way to send off these awesome individuals, and yeah, I would love to hear it. And let me know your thoughts in general about this situation. Have a great day.